Hello students, Jinali Shah welcomes you on behalf of Saraswat International Academy. Today we will begin with the next chapter, chapter number 7, Evolution. So before going deeply into the chapter, first of all we will deal with the introductory part of this chapter, and in that we will see first of all what is evolution. So basically evolution is a sequence of gradual changes from simple life forms to complex life forms, that is from primitive organisms that lived over millions of years ago to the new organisms that exist today. So what is evolution? So basically they are the changes which occur in the life forms. So basically initially whatever life forms were there, they were simpler life forms, and that simpler life form gave rise to the complex life form. So basically it is a change from the basically initially the primitive organisms lived over millions of years ago, and now the new organisms that exist today. So basically it is a gradual change which occurs in the life forms, that is from simple life forms to the complex life forms. We can say that human beings are the most recent and most highly evolved among these organisms, right? So we can say that the lastly, or you can say the highly evolved organisms are human beings. They are the most recent and highly evolved organisms. Now students, in 11th standard we have studied plant classification, animal classification. So in that you have seen, say for example plants में algae था. Algae gave rise to the bryophytes, bryophytes to pteridophytes, pteridophytes to gymnosperms, gymnosperms to angiosperms. So आप देख सकते हो कि जैसे जैसे नए ऑर्गेनिजम्स, नए प्लांट ग्रुप्स आते गए, वैसे वैसे कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी क्या होती गई, बढ़ती गई. Algae, they were the most simplest form of the plants. And when we talk about angiosperms, they are the most complex animals, complex plants. सेम वे एनिमल्स का हमने क्लासिफिकेशन देखा. सो उसमें हमने ये देखा कि पहले क्या था, पोरीफेरा था, सियोलेंट्रेट्स थे, देन देर वर एनेलिड्स, आर्थ्रोपोड्स. तो जैसे जैसे फाइनली कॉर्डेट्स, एंड कॉर्डेट्स में भी लास्ट में आए मैमल्स. सो जैसे जैसे एक ग्रुप में से दूसरा ग्रुप इवॉल्व होता गया, वैसे ऑर्गेनिजम्स कैसे होते गए, दे बिकेम मोर एंड मोर कॉम्प्लेक्स. So evolution is the gradual change. It is a sequence of gradual change from simpler form of the organisms to the most complex forms. To understand the changes in flora and fauna that have occurred over millions of years on earth, we must have an understanding of the context of origin of life, that is evolution of earth, of stars, and indeed of the universe itself. Now flora and fauna, plants and animals में क्या क्या changes आए. The basically life exists on earth. So over millions of years, what changes have taken place in flora and fauna. So to understand that, we must have the knowledge of origin of life, कि life कैसे origin हुई. But before that, in the origin of life, we should also know how the earth originated, how the stars were formed, and indeed how universe itself was formed. So before understanding the origin of life, we must know how the universe evolved. Okay, it is in this universe that earth planet is formed, and it is the planet where life exists. So earth का evolution कैसे हुआ, and then we can say that we can study that on this earth how life evolved. So evolutionary biology, it is the study of the history of life forms on the earth. What is evolutionary biology? It is the study of history of the life forms on the earth. कैसे कैसे लाइफ फॉर्म्स अर्थ पे आते गए, उनकी स्टडी करना, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज द इवोल्यूशनरी बायोलॉजी. The history of life actually comprises of two events. Firstly, the origin of life, and secondly, the mechanism involved in changes of the living organisms through time or evolution of life. So basically when we talk about history of life, Then it consists of two events. Firstly, the origin of life, and secondly, what were the changes taking place or how the changes were taking place in the organisms through the time. से फॉर एग्जाम्पल मैंने बोला कि ब्रायोफाइट में से ही टेरिडोफाइट्स इवॉल्व हुए हैं, तो ब्रायोफाइट्स और ब्रायोफाइट्स में से टेरिडोफाइट्स बने तो उनमें क्या क्या चेंजेस आए. सो बेसिकली दैट चेंजेस, से फॉर एग्जाम्पल बर्ड्स एंड देन केम्स द मैमल्स. सो बर्ड्स में ऐसा क्या चेंजेस आया कि उन्होंने नए ग्रुप का इवोल्यूशन किया. सो mechanism involved in the changes and origin of life. These are the two things when we study the history of life. Now, the origin of life is considered as a unique event in the history of universe. What follows is the longest of all the construed and the conjectured, that is presumpted theories. ओके अभी हम जो स्टडी करते हैं कि इवोल्यूशन ऑफ लाइफ, ओरिजिन ऑफ लाइफ, हिस्ट्री ऑफ यूनिवर्स. सो देर आर वेरियस थियोरीज गिवन टू एक्सप्लेन ऑल दिस, बट ऑल दिस बेसिकली आर द प्रिज्यूम्ड थियोरीज. This story of origin of life and evolution of life forms or biodiversity on planet Earth in context to the evolution of Earth and against the background of the evolution of itself. Now students, origin of life, how life originated. When we look at the stars on a clear night sky, we are in way looking back in time. Now we see stars on a clear night sky, right? Now basically when we look at stars, we are looking in the past. Stellar distances are measured in light years. What we see today is an object whose emitted light started its journey millions of years back and from trillions of kilometers away and reaching our eyes now. So basically हम कोई भी stellar object को देखते हैं. So basically that object has emitted the light, or it have started emitting the light millions of years back, and these objects are trillions of kilometers away and they are reaching to our eyes now. However, when we see objects in our immediate surrounding, we see them instantly and hence in the present time. Therefore, when we see stars, we apparently are peeping into the past. So basically हम कोई भी stellar object देखते हैं, जैसे कि stars को हम देखते हैं. So basically we are looking in the past, because it is said that these particular objects, they have emitted, or they started emitting the light millions of years back and they are trillions of kilometers away from us and are reaching our eyes now. So basically we are peeping back into the past when we see the stars. The origin of life is considered as a unique event in the history of universe. The universe is vast. Relatively speaking, the earth itself is almost only a speck. So students, basically universe was formed, and on this universe the origin of life is considered as a unique event. Now student, universe is very vast. When we talk about earth as a part of universe, then it is only a very small object. So you can imagine how vast is the universe. So first of all, we will see the origin of universe. Now students, when we talk about origin of universe, it is almost 20 billion years old. It is how much old? Almost 20 billion years old. Now, what is present in the universe? So, huge clusters of galaxies comprise the universe. So, universe is made up of various galaxies, and one of our galaxy is which? Milky Way, of which Earth is the part. So, basically not only Milky Way is galaxy, there are thousands of other galaxies present in the universe. So, universe is made up of the clusters, huge clusters of galaxies. Now what is present in the galaxies? So the galaxies, it consists of stars and clouds of gas and dust. So galaxies is made up of stars and it consists of the clouds of the gases and dust particles. Considering the size of universe, Earth is indeed a speck. Universe बहुत बड़ा है and of that Earth is a part. So basically when we talk about universe, Earth is a minute particle of that particular universe. Now, how the origin of universe took place, that is explained on the basis of the Big Bang theory. The Big Bang theory attempts to explain us the origin of universe. So widely accepted theory which explains the origin of universe is the Big Bang theory. Now what is this Big Bang theory? So according to Big Bang theory, the universe came into existence by Big Bang, that is by the thermonuclear explosion of a dense entity. So what Big Bang theory says? It says that the universe came into existence. It came into existence by Big Bang. Now what is Big Bang? So there was a thermonuclear explosion. Which type of explosion? Thermonuclear explosion of a dense entity. So एक dense particle था, उसमें thermonuclear explosion हुआ. So basically there was the fission and this fission resulted in the formation of the universe. This big explosion threw out numerous pieces of cosmic material which became slowly organized into a groups of stars called galaxies. So what is Big Bang? कि एक dense material था, एक dense particle था जिसमें thermonuclear explosion हुआ. Now due to this thermonuclear explosion of a dense entity, of a dense particle, numerous pieces of cosmic materials were formed and these pieces later got organized into the groups of stars which is called as the galaxy. Clear students? What happened? There was a dense particle. This dense entity or material, it got in that thermonuclear explosion occurred and it resulted into the formation of the numerous pieces of certain particles, and these particles later organized into the small groups of the stars, and these groups of the stars are called as the galaxies. So basically we can say that due to the big thermonuclear explosions, galaxies were formed. Now it talks of a singular huge explosion unimaginable in physical terms. अभी ये जो big explosion हुआ, that was a single explosion only, but it is unimaginable कि ये इतना बड़ा explosion हुआ कि physical terms में उसको describe नहीं कर सकते हैं. So what happened later? The universe expanded and hence the temperature came down. देखो पहले थर्मोन्यूक्लियर एक्सप्लोजन हुआ, क्यों हुआ? तब टेम्परेचर बहुत ज़्यादा था. थर्मोन्यूक्लियर एक्सप्लोजन हुआ, गैलेक्सीज बनी. गैलेक्सीज बनी यानी जो यूनिवर्स इट गॉट एक्सपांडेड. एज इट गॉट एक्सपांडेड, slowly temperature came down. Hydrogen and helium formed sometime later. So after that the gases were formed like hydrogen and helium. Now what happened to these gases? So these gases, they condensed under the gravitation and formed the galaxies of the present day universe. So hydrogen and helium were formed many, or you can say large time after the formation of the universe. Then what happened to these gases? Under the effect of gravitation, these gases condensed and finally they form the present day galaxy. One of the galaxy is the Milky Way, of which the Earth is the part. So by the condensation of hydrogen and helium, the present day galaxies were formed. So this is how the universe originated by the Big Bang. Big Bang is a large thermonuclear explosion of a dense entity. Okay, due to the Big Bang theory, galaxies were formed. Now we will see that how Earth was formed, or how Earth became the part of these galaxies. So we will study the origin of Earth. Now, in the solar system of the Milky Way galaxy, Earth was supposed to have been formed about 4.5 billion years back. See, universe 20 billion years back. So, universe के comparison में हमें ऐसा लगता है कि Earth तो अभी बना है, but it is how much? 4.5 billion years back. So, universe बना, universe में one of the galaxy was मिल्की वे गैलेक्सी के, जिसमें सोलर सिस्टम है, एंड ये मिल्की वे गैलेक्सी में मेन स्टार कौन सा है? सन है. ओके, एंड इन दिस मिल्की वे गैलेक्सी अर्थ वॉज फॉर्म सम 4.5 billion years ago. Now initially when earth was formed there was no atmosphere, यानी कि oxygen, air, it was not present when the earth was formed. So on early earth there was no atmosphere. Water vapor, methane, carbon dioxide and ammonia released from the molten masses covered the surface. So earth surface पे क्या था? Oxygen तो था नहीं, but what was present? So basically water vapors, methane, कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड एंड अमोनिया, ये सब रिलीज हुआ. किस में से रिलीज हुआ? सो बेसिकली लावा वॉज प्रेजेंट, एंड ये लावा जैसे मेल्ट होते गए, दिस ऑल गैसेस दे कवर्ड द surface of the earth. Now what happened? The UV rays from the sun broke up water into hydrogen and oxygen and lighter hydrogen except. Now due to the UV rays coming from the sun, what happened? ये जो water था उसका breakdown हुआ. किस में breakdown हुआ? Hydrogen and oxygen. And then the hydrogen molecule, that is H2 gas, it escaped from the earth. Oxygen, it combined with ammonia and methane to form water, carbon dioxide and others. And in this way the ozone layer was formed. As it cooled, the water vapor fell as rain to fill all the depressions and form the oceans. So what happened? Water vapor, as they cooled down, they came back to the earth in the form of the rain. जो भी कोई pits थे, that pits were filled with the water, and in this way oceans were formed on the earth. Now अर्थ का ओरिजिन हमने देखा. पहले हमने देखा हाउ यूनिवर्स ओरिजिनेटेड, then we have studied how the earth originated, how and when. So basically earth originated some 4.5 billion years ago. उसमें सब पहले there was no atmosphere on the earth, but what happened? We have seen that carbon dioxide, methane, oxygen ये molten masses में से बना, and then what happened? Water vapor, it fell as the rain, and the depressions, the pits present on the earth were filled with the water, in which we can say that this is how the oceans were formed. Now earth बन गया. Now how the life originated on the earth. So we will deal with the origin of life. Now students, life appeared 500 million years after the formation of earth, that is almost 4 billion years back. So basically earth was formed 4.5 billion years ago. अर्थ के फॉर्मेशन के 500 मिलियन ईयर्स के बाद लाइफ ओरिजिनेटेड ऑन द अर्थ. सो वी कैन से दैट द लाइफ ओरिजिनेटेड ऑन द अर्थ ऑलमोस्ट 4 billion years ago. In order to explain the origin of life on earth, different theories were given by different thinkers and scientists. Now, how the life originated on earth? For that different theories were given by different thinkers, different scientists. बहुत सारी theory accept हुई, बहुत सारी theories reject हुई. So we will study some of them in brief, the theories which explain the origin of the life. So first theory, theory of spatial creation. So what it states? It states that God had created the life by his divine act of creation. That is, earth, light, plants and animals are all being created by the supernatural power. So theory of spatial creation क्या समझाता है? ये समझाता है, it states that the earth or earth के ऊपर जो लाइफ ओरिजिनेट हुई है, इट इज़ क्रिएटेड बाय द गॉड एंड हिज डिवाइन एक्ट, एंड बाय द सुपर नेचुरल पावर प्रेजेंट इन द गॉड, लाइट, अर्थ, प्लांट्स एंड एनिमल्स दे वर फॉर्म्ड. बट ये थियोरी कोई एक्सेप्ट करता नहीं है. नाउ नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन अराइज, डिड द लाइफ केम फ्रॉम द आउटर स्पेस? Whether the life came from outer space. So some scientists believed that yes, it came from outside. It came from outside space. So that is the theory of panspermia. So what this theory states. So early Greek thinkers thought units of life called spores or panspermia were transferred from outer space to the different planets including the earth and developed into the living forms. So Greek thinkers क्या believe करते थे? There were units of life which were called as the spores. Now these spores from the outer space got transferred to the different planets. One of the planet was Earth also. And Earth पे conditions suitable होने के लिए वजह से that spores they germinated and they developed into the life forms. That is what panspermia theory states. Greek thinkers, they believed that there were units of life called as spores or panspermia. These spores from the outer space got transferred to the different planets including the earth. अर्थ में कंडीशंस लाइफ के लिए फेवरेबल होने के वजह से that spores got germinated and they developed into the life forms. Panspermia is still the favorite idea for some astronomers. It stated that life had reached Earth from some heavenly body in the form of the resistant spores of the simple organisms in meteorite, which is a rock falling from the space on the Earth. Finding fertile soil there, they grew and then evolved into the various existing forms. So what does panspermia theory states? That life have reached the earth in the form of a resistant material called spores of the simple organisms which were found in the meteorites. So basically meteorites are the rocks which are falling from the outer space on the earth. So meteorites they might have fallen on the earth. ये meteorites के अंदर spores थे. Now ये spores को जब fertile soil मिली होगी earth पे, then that spores were germinated, they grew and they gave rise to the various living forms. So that was the theory of panspermia. Now next is the theory of the spontaneous generation. So it stated that life originated from non-living matter automatically. So theory of spontaneously life spontaneously originate हुई किस में से? From the non-living matter. So what it believes? So for a long time it was also believed that life came out of the decaying and rotting material like straw, mud, etc. So this spontaneous generation theory states that life might have originated from non-living matter like decaying and rotting materials like straw, matter, etc. mud, etc. लेकिन ये straw कहाँ से आया, ये mud कहाँ से आया, उसका कोई explanation नहीं है. So this was the theory of the spontaneous generation. Basically ये बोल रहा है कि life originated from the non-living matter automatically. Now, Louis Pasteur, he rejected the theory of spontaneous generation, and by careful experimentation he demonstrated that life comes only from the pre-existing life. So Louis Pasteur उसने ये जो spontaneous generation वाली theory को reject किया, and he proved, or basically he demonstrated through his experiments, that life comes only from the pre-existing life, right? So which experiment did he perform? He showed that in a pre-sterilized flask, life did not came from the killed yeast, while in a other flask open to air, new living organisms arose from the killed yeast. So उसने दो फ्लास्क लिए. वन फ्लास्क वॉज प्री स्टेरिलाइज्ड. स्टेरिलाइज था यानी उसमें कोई भी कंटामिनेशन नहीं था. उसमें उसने किल्ड ईस्ट का कल्चर डाला. एंड अनदर फ्लास्क ही टुक. In that also he kept the killed yeast culture, but that flask he kept it into the open air. जबकि pre-sterilized flask it was incubated. So उसमें उसने ये देखा कि killed yeast when kept in the pre-sterilized flask, उसमें से कोई भी लाइफ बनी नहीं, उसमें से नए ईस्ट के पार्टिकल्स नहीं बने. But when he kept the flask into the open air, he found that new organisms were formed from the killed yeast particles. So spontaneous generation theory was dismissed once and for all. So by Louis Pasteur experiment, जो spontaneous जनरेशन की जो थियोरी थी, जो बोल रही थी कि नॉन लिविंग मैटर में से लाइफ ऑटोमेटिकली जनरेट हुई होगी, so by his experiments this theory was dismissed for each and every thinkers and scientists. However, this did not answer how the first life form came on the earth. Okay, लुइस पास्चर के एक्सपेरिमेंट से ये प्रूव हो गया कि न्यू लाइफ विल बी फॉर्म्ड फ्रॉम द प्री एग्जिस्टिंग लाइफ, बट उसकी थियोरी से ये नहीं मालूम पड़ा कि हाउ द फर्स्ट लाइफ माइट हैव फॉर्म्ड ऑन द अर्थ. उसने ये प्रूव कर दिया कि न्यू लाइफ विल बी फॉर्म्ड फ्रॉम द प्री एग्जिस्टिंग लाइफ, बट अर्थ पे पहली लाइफ कैसे फॉर्म हुई, दैट वॉज नॉट येट आंसर्ड. सो देन केम द थियोरी ऑफ द केमिकल इवोल्यूशन, and this theory of chemical evolution was given by Oparin and Haldane, which were from England. So Oparin of Russia, Haldane of England proposed that the first form of life could have come from the pre-existing non-living organic molecules like RNA, proteins, etc., and that formation of life was preceded by chemical evolution, that is formation of diverse organic molecules from the inorganic constituents. So what is theory of chemical evolution? So theory of chemical evolution was given by Oparin, who was from Russia, and Haldane, who was from England. ये दोनों ने ये प्रपोज किया कि जो फर्स्ट फॉर्म ऑफ लाइफ अर्थ पे आई होगी, दैट लाइफ माइट हैव केम from the pre-existing non-living organic molecules. So they suggested that the life might have come on the earth, first life on the earth might have came in the form of the pre-existing non-living organic molecules. So basically इन्होंने ये बोला कि अर्थ पे ऑर्गेनिक मॉलिक्यूल्स का फॉर्मेशन हुआ होगा, जैसे आरएनए, प्रोटीन्स, कार्बोहाइड्रेट्स एक्सेट्रा. ये ऑर्गेनिक मॉलिक्यूल्स का फॉर्मेशन हुआ होगा एंड देन उसमें से लाइफ का फॉर्मेशन हुआ. सो इट इज़ सेड दैट द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ द लाइफ वॉज प्रिसीडेड बाय केमिकल इवोल्यूशन, यानी लाइफ बनने से पहले केमिकल इवोल्यूशन हुआ होगा. अर्थ पे पहले तो क्या था, हीलियम थे, हाइड्रोजन थे, बट उसके बाद सर्टेन केमिकल चेंजेस माइट हैव टेकन ऑन द अर्थ. ये केमिकल चेंजेस कैसे हुए? सो इनऑर्गेनिक मॉलिक्यूल्स विच वर प्रेजेंट ऑन द अर्थ, उन्होंने क्या बनाया? ऑर्गेनिक मटेरियल, एंड दैट ऑर्गेनिक मटेरियल might have formed the life. So origin of the life is basically preceded by chemical evolution. यानी पहले chemical evolution हुआ. Chemical evolution यानी changes have taken place in the chemicals which were present on the earth. So that is, inorganic constituents present on the earth got converted into the organic constituents, that is chemical evolution, and these organic constituents later have formed the life on the earth. So what is the theory of chemical evolution? It stated that the first form of life could have come from the pre-existing non-living organic molecules like RNA, protein, etc., and that formation of the life was preceded by chemical evolution, that is formation of the diverse organic molecules from the inorganic constituents. So ओपेरिन एंड हेल्डेन की थियोरी एक्सप्लेन्स द थियोरी ऑफ केमिकल इवोल्यूशन. उन्होंने ये बोला कि पहले नॉन लिविंग ऑर्गेनिक मटेरियल बने थे अर्थ पे एंड दैट ऑर्गेनिक मटेरियल लेटर फॉर्म द लाइफ. लेकिन ये ऑर्गेनिक मटेरियल बनने के लिए क्या हुआ? केमिकल इवोल्यूशन. दैट इज व्हाट inorganic molecules which were present on the earth, they combined and they formed the organic matters. But students, अभी ये जो केमिकल इवोल्यूशन की बात हो रही है वो प्रेजेंट डे एटमॉस्फेयर में पॉसिबल नहीं है. क्यों? पहले का जो एटमॉस्फेयर था वो रिड्यूसिंग एटमॉस्फेयर था, यानी देयर वाज नो फ्री ऑक्सीजन ऑन द अर्थ, जिसकी वजह से क्या हो रहा था कि ये जो ऑर्गेनिक मैटर्स बन रहे थे उनका ब्रेकडाउन नहीं हो रहा था. बट द प्रेजेंट डे एटमॉस्फेयर इज विच एटमॉस्फेयर? इट इज़ द ऑक्सीडाइजिंग एटमॉस्फेयर, यानी फ्री ऑक्सीजन अवेलेबल है. सो इफ़ एन ऑर्गेनिक मैटर बनता भी है तो क्या होता है? बाय द एक्टिविटी ऑफ द ऑक्सीजन इट इज़ ब्रोकन डाउन. सो वो जो केमिकल इवोल्यूशन इनिशियली अर्थ पे हुआ, इट इज़ नॉट पॉसिबल इन द present day earth because earlier earth was having a reducing atmosphere and present day earth is having the oxidizing atmosphere. Now the conditions on the earth were favoring the chemical evolutions. So what were the conditions on earth के जो chemical evolution favor कर रहे थे? So those conditions were high temperature, volcanic storms, reducing atmosphere containing CH4, ammonia, that is NH3, etc. So how chemical evolution became possible on earth? What are the conditions which allowed the chemical evolution to take place on earth? So those conditions were very high temperature. क्या अभी वो टेम्परेचर है? नहीं. वॉल्केनिक स्टॉर्म्स, कंटिन्यूसली वॉल्केनिक इरप्शंस होते रहते थे जिसकी वजह से एनर्जी एमिट होती थी एंड दिस एनर्जी एमिटेड was used for the fusion of the particles. Reducing atmosphere, that is there was no free oxygen on the earth. CH4, NH3 they were present. Oxygen था but it was combined with certain particles, like it was found in combination with carbon, that is carbon dioxide. It was found in combination with hydrogen, that is in the form of water, but it was not available in the free form. So these were certain conditions which favored the chemical evolution. So that was the theory of chemical evolution given by Oparin and Haldane. Now theory of abiogenesis. So in 1953, S.L. Miller, an American scientist, created similar conditions in a laboratory scale. So अर्थ का जो अर्लियर एटमॉस्फेयर था, जो रिड्यूसिंग था, जो कंडीशंस वो टाइम पे प्रिवेलिंग थे, सो वो कंडीशंस मिलर ने लेबोरेटरी स्केल पे क्रिएट किए. ओके, ही क्रिएटेड ऑल दोज कंडीशंस विच वर प्रेजेंट ऑन द अर्लियर अर्थ. He created an electric discharge in a closed flask containing CH4, hydrogen, ammonia and water vapor at 800 degrees Celsius. So he took a flask. In a flask he took the mixture of methane, ammonia, hydrogen and water vapor, and then that flask was connected to electrodes and electric discharge was given. He observed the formation of the amino acid. So ये मिक्सचर जब लिया फिर वो कंडेंस हुआ, वो टेम्परेचर बहुत ज़्यादा था तो स्टीम जनरेट हुई, स्टीम एक ट्यूब से पास हुई एंड देन दैट ट्यूब वाज कनेक्टेड टू कंडेंसर. कंडेंसर में ये स्टीम क्या हो गई होगी, लिक्विड फॉर्म में कन्वर्ट हुई, एंड जब ये लिक्विड को उसने एनालाइज किया ही फाउंड द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ द अमाइनो एसिड्स. राइट, एंड अमाइनो एसिड इज विच मॉलिक्यूल, ऑर्गेनिक मॉलिक्यूल. ये किस में से बना, इनऑर्गेनिक मॉलिक्यूल में से. In the similar experiments, other observed the formation of sugars, nitrogenous bases, pigments, fats, etc. ऐसे experiments फिर दूसरे scientists ने भी perform की. So they observed the formation of a sugar, organic molecule है, nitrogenous bases, which are the particles responsible for the formation of the nucleic acids. Pigments का formation देखा and fats का formation देखा. Thus मिलर यूरे एक्सपेरिमेंट, यूरे इज़ अनदर साइंटिस्ट, ये दोनों मिले, यूरी और मिलर ये दोनों ने एक्सपेरिमेंट साथ में परफॉर्म की थी. दे सपोर्टेड द थियोरी ऑफ एबायोजेनेसिस फॉलोड बाय केमिकल इवोल्यूशन. सो ये यूरी मिलर दे सपोर्टेड द एबायोजेनेसिस थियोरी विच वॉज फॉलोड बाय केमिकल इवोल्यूशन. यानी उन्होंने ये प्रूव किया कि येस केमिकल इवोल्यूशन हुआ and then the life originated. Analysis of the meteorite content also revealed the similar compounds, indicating that similar processes are occurring elsewhere in the space. Meteors जब अर्थ पे फॉल हुए, वो meteors का एनालिसिस किया, then also it was found that similar compounds were formed, and this concluded कि ये सब process it is occurring everywhere in the space. With this limited evidence, the first part of the conjectured theory, that is the chemical evolution, was more or less accepted. So life originate कैसे हुई, ये सब theories में से widely accepted theory was the theory of chemical evolution, जो कहता है कि इनऑर्गेनिक सब्सटेंसेस का कॉम्बिनेशन होकर ऑर्गेनिक सब्सटेंसेस बने होंगे, एंड देन दिस ऑर्गेनिक सब्सटेंसेस माइट हैव फॉर्म द लाइफ ऑन द अर्थ. सो जो सबसे एक्सेप्टेड पार्ट था, थियोरी थी इतनी सारी थियोरीज में से, इट वॉज विच थियोरी, केमिकल इवोल्यूशन थियोरी, विच वॉज गिवन बाय ओपेरिन एंड हेल्डेन. नाउ सी स्टूडेंट्स, ये यूरे एंड मिलर के एक्सपेरिमेंट का डायग्रामेटिक पार्ट है. ये फ्लास्क है, ये फ्लास्क में ये सब गैसेस थे, कौन से, मीथेन, अमोनिया, वाटर वेपर एंड हाइड्रोजन. नाउ दिस इलेक्ट्रोड्स वर kept in this flask and the electric discharge was given, जिसकी वजह से what happened, the gases formation. now ये gases ये ट्यूब से कहाँ पे आए, कंडेंसर में. कंडेंसर में फिर ये गैसेस का टेम्परेचर कम हुआ, वाटर ड्रॉपलेट्स ये कहाँ पे आ गए, ये ट्रैप में. नाउ ये वाटर का जब एनालिसिस किया गया, द एनालिसिस रिजल्टेड दैट इट कंसिस्ट ऑफ द वेरियस ऑर्गेनिक कंपाउंड. यूरेन मिलर का जो पहला ऑर्गेनिक कंपाउंड उनको मिला था वो क्या था, दे फाउंड द अमाइनो एसिड्स. लेटर सेम सेटअप वॉज डेवलप्ड बाय अदर साइंटिस्ट एंड इसमें उनको क्या मिला, दे फाउंड ऑल्सो द प्रेजेंस ऑफ फैट, दे फाउंड द प्रेजेंस ऑफ द पिगमेंट्स, they found the presence of the nitrogenous bases, etc. Right, so that was the experiment generated by Urey and Miller. Okay, अभी हमने ये देख लिया ऑर्गेनिक मॉलिक्यूल्स का फॉर्मेशन हुआ ड्यू टू द केमिकल इवोल्यूशन. नाउ हाउ that organic molecule have given rise to the first cells. So formation of the first cell, we have no idea about how the first self-replicating metabolic capsule of the life arose. अभी ये ऑर्गेनिक मॉलिक्यूल में से पहली लाइफ यानी कि सेल्फ रेप्लिकेटिंग मॉलिक्यूल कैसे बना होगा, दैट इज स्टिल नॉट वेरी क्लियर. द फर्स्ट नॉन सेल्युलर फॉर्म्स ऑफ द लाइफ could have originated 3 billion years back. So first life was the non-cellular form of the life, and it is believed that it might have originated some 3 billion years back. Now they could have been giant molecules like RNA, protein, polysaccharides, etc. Non-cellular मैंने बोला, it was the first life was a non-cellular life. So उसमें क्या हुआ होगा? So it might be a capsule, it might be a giant molecule which consisted of RNA, proteins, polysaccharides. See RNA, protein, polysaccharide कैसे बना होगा? केमिकल इवोल्यूशन से. केमिकल इवोल्यूशन हुआ, इनऑर्गेनिक मटेरियल में से ऑर्गेनिक मटेरियल बने, जैसे नाइट्रोजिनस बेसिस बने, अमाइनो एसिड्स बने, then there was the formation of the glucose, there was the formation of other simple sugars, there was the formation of the organic acids. ये सब बना होगा. ओके फिर क्या बना होगा? अमाइनो एसिड्स मॉलिक्यूल ने कंबाइन कर दिया होगा, प्रोटीन बना होगा. नाइट्रोजिनस बेसिस, फॉस्फोरिक एसिड, वो अब ये क्वेश्चन आता है कि फॉस्फेट कहाँ से आया होगा? सो रॉक्स का जब इरोजन होता है तो वो क्या रिलीज़ करता है? फॉस्फेट ग्रुप. सो फॉस्फेट ग्रुप शुगर एंड नाइट्रोजिनस बेसिस ने जब कंबाइन किया होगा तो क्या बना होगा? आरएनए बना होगा. देन बहुत सारे ग्लूकोज पार्टिकल्स बने होंगे, उन्होंने कंबाइन होकर क्या बनाया होगा? पॉलीसेकेराइड्स बनाया होगा. सो ये सब मॉलिक्यूल्स बने. ओके साथ में फैट भी बना. सो ये फैट मटेरियल ने क्या किया? ये लिपिड ने क्या किया? ये जो मिक्सचर था आरएनए, प्रोटीन्स, पॉलीसेकेराइड्स, दूसरे फैट्स, उसको एक लेयर से कवर कर दिया. राइट. So these capsules must have reproduced their molecules. The first cellular form of life did not possibly originated till about 2000 million years ago. पहली जो लाइफ थी it was a non-cellular life and it originated 3 billion years ago. लेकिन ये लाइफ में से जो नॉन सेल्यूलर थी उसमें सेल्यूलर फर्स्ट लाइफ कैसे ओरिजिनेट हुई होगी? So basically it was originated some 2000 million years ago, and these were probably the single cells. All the life forms were in water environment only. So जो origin हुआ सब life कैसी थी? First of all they all were aquatic. This version of the biogenesis, that is first form of life, arose slowly through evolutionary forces from non-living molecules is the accepted by majority. यानी biogenesis, formation of life. So this theory के life arose from the non-living particle, it is most widely accepted theory. Therefore once formed, the first cellular forms of life could have evolved into the complex biodiversity of today. So first cells which were first formed life was a single cell organism. उसमें इवोल्यूशन होकर अभी की जो बायोडाइवर्सिटी है विच इज़ मोस्ट कॉम्प्लेक्स हैव फॉर्म्ड. नाउ इवोल्यूशन ऑफ द लाइफ फॉर्म्स अ थियोरी. कन्वेंशनल रिलीजियस लिटरेचर टेल्स अस अबाउट द थियोरी ऑफ स्पेशल क्रिएशन. हमने देखा दिस थियोरी हैज़ 3 connotations. One, that all the living organisms that we see today were created as such. ओके थियोरी ऑफ स्पेशल क्रिएशन के 3 सजेशंस है, 3 इम्प्लीकेशंस है. विच आर दोज इम्प्लीकेशंस? एक इम्प्लीकेशन ये है कि अभी के जो प्रेजेंट डे ऑर्गेनिजम्स है दे वर क्रिएटेड एज सच, वो ऐसे ही बन गए थे, उसमें कोई भी चेंजेस आए नहीं है. सेकंड, द डाइवर्सिटी वॉज ऑलवेज सेम सिंस क्रिएशन एंड विल बी सेम इन फ्यूचर ऑल्सो. And 3, that the earth is 4000 years old. All these ideas were strongly challenged during the 19th century. Okay, theory of special creation क्या मानता था कि अभी के जो प्रेजेंट डे ऑर्गेनिज्म है वो पहले भी ऐसे ही थे, फिर कोई भी लाइफ डाइवर्सिटी नहीं हुई है, यानी कि लाइफ फॉर्म्स चेंज नहीं थे. तब जो ऑर्गेनिजम्स थे वो अब जो ऑर्गेनिजम्स है वही थे, उसमें कोई नई इवोल्यूशन हुआ नहीं है. एंड ये कि अर्थ वॉज फॉर्म 4000 ईयर्स अगो. बट ये सब जो कोनोटेशंस थे उनके सजेशंस थे they were challenged in 19th century. किसने challenge किया? So based on the observations made during a sea voyage in a sail ship called HMS Beagle around the world, Charles Darwin concluded that existing living forms share the similarities to varying degree not among themselves but also with the life forms that existed millions of years ago. So Darwin, during his ship journey in a ship called HMS Beagle, he was traveling around the world and he came to conclusion that अभी के जो existing life forms है, they share the similarities to varying degree not only among themselves. Say for example, human beings अभी के life forms है. So ये जो human beings है वो सिमिलैरिटीज सिर्फ अपने अप से ही यानी कि दूसरे ह्यूमन बींग्स के साथ नहीं बल्कि दे ऑल्सो हैव सर्टन डिग्री ऑफ द सिमिलैरिटी विच वॉज फाउंड विद इन द ऑर्गेनिजम्स मिलियंस ऑफ ईयर्स अगो. क्या बोला चार्ल्स डार्विन ने? ही सेड दैट द एग्जिस्टिंग लिविंग फॉर्म्स दे शेयर द सिमिलैरिटीज टू वराइंग डिग्रीज नॉट ओनली अमॉन्ग देमसेल्व्स. यानी मैं ह्यूमन बींग के एग्जाम्पल देती हूँ तो human beings does not share the similarities only with the other human beings but they also share certain similarities with the life forms which existed millions of years ago. Okay, clear students? Now many such life forms do not exist anymore. Okay, अभी ऐसे बहुत सारे life forms हैं जो अभी exist नहीं करते. The organisms became extinct. There had been extinctions of the different life forms in the years gone by, just as new form of life arose at the different periods of the history of Earth. So extinctions भी उतने ही हुए हैं जितने नए life forms बने हैं उतने ही extinctions Earth पे हुए हैं. There has been gradual evolution of the life forms. Any population has built-in variation in characteristics. Those characteristics which enable them some to survive in better natural conditions, climate, food, physical factors, would outbreed others that have less endowed to survive under such natural conditions. Okay, कोई भी population के अंदर variations देखते हैं. And these variations in the characteristics enable the organisms to survive better in the natural conditions. यानी जो organism it is adapted to nature उनके पास ऐसे variations है characteristics है जो उनको survive करने के लिए helpful करते हैं from the other organisms के जो ये conditions में survive नहीं कर सकते हैं. So those characteristics which enable some to survive better in the natural conditions would outbreed others. यानी वो competition को जीत जाएगा. That are less endowed to survive under other natural conditions. So here we can use the another term fitness for the individual or population. Fitness according to Darwin refers ultimately and only to the reproductive fitness. So basically Darwin ने उसके लिए एक term use किया fitness, basically a reproductive fitness, which means the ability to pass their genes to the subsequent generation. Okay, जो organisms reproductively fit होगा, he will leave more progeny than the others. जो reproductively fit नहीं होगा वो survive ही नहीं करेगा and वो progeny को generate नहीं करेगा. Hence those who are better fit in an environment leave more progeny than the others. This therefore will survive more and are selected by the nature. So ऐसे organisms जो reproductively fit है उनको कौन select करेगा? Nature select करेगा and that is called as the natural selection and is implied as the mechanism of evolution. So basically to explain the mechanism of evolution, natural selection is the most important thing. Alfred Wallace, a naturalist who worked in Malay archipelago, had also come to similar conclusions around the same time. ये जो natural selection का डार्विन ने बोला वही टाइम पे Alfred Wallace was also working in Malay archipelago and he also came out with the same conclusion. In due course of time, apparently new types of organisms are recognizable. As the time passes, new life forms were formed. All the existing life forms share the similarities and share the common ancestors. However, these ancestors were present at the different periods in the history of the earth. These periods are called as epochs, periods and area. So अपने जो ancestors है they were present at the different periods in the history of the earth, and the history of the earth can be divided into the periods of the history of the earth can be divided into epoch, periods and era. Now what is that? So duration of the earth history has been divided into 5 principal geological lifespans which are called as era. So earth की history को it is divided into 5 geological lifespans. ये जो lifespans है जो उसको क्या बोलते हैं era. So total how many eras are there? 5 eras. ये 5 era में से 3 most recent eras they are further divided into smaller spans. अर्थ की टाइम हिस्ट्री को 5 एराज में डिवाइड किया गया है. ये 5 एरा में से जो 3 मोस्ट रिसेंट एराज है उसको फिर से शॉर्टर लाइफ टाइम स्पान में कन्वर्ट किया है. दिस आर कॉल्ड एज पीरियड्स एंड दिस पीरियड्स आर अगेन डिवाइडेड इनटू स्मॉलर लाइफ स्पान्स विच आर कॉल्ड एज द इपोक्स. A geological history of earth closely correlates with the biological history of the earth. A common permissible conclusion is that earth is very old, not thousands of years as was thought earlier, but is millions of years old. So that is regarding the origin of the life. Now there are certain evidences which are given to prove the formation of the life. That evidences we will be studying in the next lecture. I end my video here. Thank you students.